I'm Matt O'Connor from the O'Connor Law Firm Strategic Litigation Group here in Kansas City, Missouri. We are a law firm that has an emphasis in litigation, both civil and criminal litigation. Now, what often happens in a criminal case is people hear the word a motion to suppress or asserting your Fourth Amendment right to be free from an unreasonable search. And that's just the exact language that is used in the Fourth Amendment. We all think of the First Amendment, which is your right to free speech, right to worship whoever you or whatever you wish to, and the right to keep the government from forcing us to have an organized church. Then there's the Second Amendment, your right to bear arms. The Third Amendment, which never really gets used, thankfully, is quartering troops in our homes. Not that I wouldn't mind having troops here, it's just we're not forced to. But the Fourth Amendment, the right to be free from an unreasonable search. Now that has changed over the years, obviously, and it has evolved. Now I'll keep opinions out of it. Let's just talk about the law as it is now. And the law is always evolving. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse in terms of our individual rights, so to speak. You can now have searches using infrared to see if there's too much power being used, so they go after people who are like grow operations, things like that. But let's keep this basic as it relates to a search of a home. So in order to get a search warrant, because your home is your castle, it's where you live, it's where your private things are, you have a right to be free from that unreasonable search in your home. The police just can't kick in and look willy-nilly through your things without some probable cause, some reason. So there has to be some specificity. And a lot of times what you see in these search warrants are trash pulls. And so they will pull things from the trash, which are, the word is indicia. It's a fancy word that just means stuff that indicates that there's a crime going on. For example, if they pull out a bunch of baggies and they have residue of a narcotic on them, that's probably pretty good indicia or stuff that's going to indicate that there's something illegal going on there. It gets tricky though when you get into a situation where you've got a apartment building or an office building where there's 30 people and the bag isn't in their own individualized bag, it's out in the open, so to speak. It's just trash thrown in there. Well, whose is it? Did they search the whole building? I think not. I don't believe that a reasonable judge would uphold that search. So what about a house where you've got 10 people living in it and there's one item of contraband? So they go, oh, we searched the whole house. What if the person has a locked room? Now there's a split in the case law to a certain extent, but you still have to have that specificity, because the founding fathers and the Constitution, however it has evolved, and believe me, it has evolved in a lot of ways for good. I mean, we didn't used to be able to buy contraceptives until Griswold versus Connecticut. That was a very landmark case. And I know a lot of people are split on Roe versus Wade. I'm not going to go there, but I'm just saying the Constitution has grown and evolved and become a living document. I myself personally tend to be a strict interpretationist. That is, it says what it says. People don't realize the Constitution can be amended. Oh, if you don't like it, you can change it instead of just whine about it. If there's things about the Second Amendment you don't like, you can change it if you want to. If you're an absolutist in that, you can protect it. Those are things that are good for debate. And we also need to realize that you can amend the Constitution. It takes a supermajority in a very specific process, which is outlined in the Bill of Rights. You see, the Bill of Rights were added because our founding fathers wanted to make sure that these first 10 were protecting us from government. Let me repeat that. Protecting the individual from government. The First Amendment protects us from the government keeping us from speaking or making us worship a particular deity or preventing us from worshiping a deity. The Fourth Amendment says you cannot unreasonably search me. You can't just stop me and give me a cavity search for no reason. That's a little bit weird and not cool and not constitutional. The Fifth Amendment says you have a right to due process. That is, you have a right to a trial. You have a right to have a judge give you a fair hearing. The Sixth Amendment. You have a right to a lawyer. Unfortunately, it doesn't mean a good one, just that you have a right to a constitutionally effective lawyer. And that's a whole nother segment we'll get into later. And that's Strickland versus Washington, your right to effective assistance of counsel. So, what does a search warrant have to have? Well, they have to have information that is corroborated. You can't just have somebody calling in. Can you imagine all the irritated ex-spouses who would call in and go, yes, my ex-husband Bob has heroin in his trunk. Well, if they just went and, pulled him over all the time and searched him, that would get a little bit annoying. It has to be more than just like an anonymous tip. There has to be some corroboration or other fact that shows that tip is valid, for example. Or with regard to the house search, they have to corroborate that there's something else going on there. Maybe they see people coming and going. Maybe they pull people over, and afterwards they have drugs that were purchased in the home, and the people tell them that. Things of that nature. The whole idea is very, very important, because it really bothers me when people say a case was dismissed because of a technicality. Well, the Constitution is not a technicality. It is a living, breathing document that we should be very proud of, that our men and women in the service have died to protect. It's not a technicality. For example, okay, so what's this? What's it look like? Huh? It's a glass case, right? Okay. Is there anything about this? This is one of the factors they use for like looking at an automobile. It's a reasonably articulable fact that criminal activity is afoot. Is there anything criminal about this? Should the government be able to look in this and go, he's got something illegal in there? Really? I should have sunglasses in there. That'd be a reasonable assumption, wouldn't it? But that'd still be an assumption, wouldn't it? Do you know what's in these? Do you know what's in there? Want to take a guess? Is it sunglasses? Or something else? Why would the government need to look if they're not sure? They should be. If they're going to invade my space and look in my glass case, then they need to have a reason. Did they get a tip that I have something else in here, something evil, something illegal? Well, let's see. Got the plastic. Got the glasses came in. Not illegal. Appears to be some sort of tag. Oh wow, a little screwdriver thing that goes for your glass case. Huh. It's like a keychain. And no glasses. Assumption. Articulable facts. Spelled out in the four corners of the document that a judge or magistrate has to see. The law enforcement officer has to swear out an affidavit that they have facts which support the invasion. And it's an invasion of your privacy. It's always like, oh good, they're going to get bad guys. Well, you know what? The first time that they kick in on your house and you're not doing anything, you're going to be a little bit upset that your privacy wasn't protected. So that's why we all have to play by the rules. The system works fantastic. Just because I'm a defense lawyer doesn't mean I dislike cops. To the contrary, good cops, good lawyers, good judges, good prosecutors, and good juries make a legal system the justice system. And when you have any one of those that is out of balance, the legal system is in place and the justice system gets lost. If you have a bad lawyer, it's not the justice system. If you have a bad prosecutor who misses something, doesn't do a good job presenting the case, you have the legal system, not the justice system. And if you have a bad cop who's not playing by the rules, you have the legal system, not the justice system. Or a judge who's not, calling strikes when they're right on the outside corner. That's what you want. If we all play by the rules as set forth in the Constitution, both the Missouri Constitution and the federal Constitution, and the laws that our elected officials have passed, if we all play by those, then it's a better world. But not everybody does. And that's why you need defense lawyers to protect your individual rights. We're not just protecting that client's particular rights, although we are. That's our duty to them. We're protecting your rights to be free from an unreasonable search and seizure. How would you like it if the police could just pull you over randomly and give you a cavity search? I think that might change your opinion on things, and you might think that's unreasonable. Do you think Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, do you think they would have thought that it was reasonable to be cavity searched willy-nilly? I think not. Food for thought. This is Matt O'Connor from the O'Connor Law Firm with Michael Albani as part of Strategic Litigation Group. Happy to serve you here in the Kansas City area for all of your needs, criminal and civil trial litigation. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it.